Have you ever dealt with a seller that's a hoarder? In today's video, I'm going to give you 3 clues that the seller that you're talking to on the phone just might have a hoarding problem. Stick around, we'll kick this off in 3, 2, 1. Alright guys, welcome to the channel. Before we get started here, if you wouldn't mind, take a look below, click that like button, click the thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and then go ahead and click that bell just to be notified whenever we upload a new video to the channel. Alright, in today's topic, we're going to talk about hoarding. And I don't necessarily like calling this hoarding. It just seems like a really derogatory term. What I really like to call it is collecting, dealing with collectors. For some reason, that makes me feel better. But if you've never dealt with a collector, it can be quite a shock to the system. If you've never seen a situation like that, it can be a little overwhelming. So what I want to talk about are three items to clue you in that you might be dealing with a collector. And you know, these are not all inclusive. There may be other things that are going to clue you in. In fact, there may be a point that a seller would just come out and tell you, hey, you know, I have a hoarding problem. I'm you know, I've got a lot of stuff in the house. And but what I find is that there is a lot of embarrassment about this, and most sellers, if they're in this situation, they're not very forthcoming about this problem. And so also I do want to throw a disclaimer out there that I am not any kind of psychologist. I'm not a psychotherapist of any kind like that. I really honestly don't know how to help people other than in tactical ways. I don't know how to really deal with that problem in a professional sense. You know, I'm not a doctor. I just don't know. So what I tend to do in those situations is try and move as fast as I can. And I'll explain a little bit more about that later. But number 1 on the list of things to kind of key in on if you suspect you have a seller that has a hoarding problem is, number 1, the seller keeps blowing you off, and they will tend to postpone your appointments. You know, they'll set an appointment with you maybe, and then, you know, at the last minute they call you up and they say, you know, that they have to postpone it for some reason or another. Now, granted, things do come up for folks, so that automatically wouldn't lead you to that assumption that they are a hoarder. But if it keeps happening time and time again, over and over, well, you know, you got to start to suspect something. So that's the first thing to look out for. Number 2, if the seller starts hinting to you, now you really got to listen carefully, but if the seller starts hinting to you about having a lot of stuff to move, that is your second clue. Now, just because they have a lot of stuff doesn't necessarily mean that they're a hoarder. People live in homes for a long time, and you know, we all accumulate stuff. So I wouldn't automatically assume that, but the way to draw this out, if you do suspect that that's the case, one of the best ways to draw it out is really what you should be doing anyway if you're doing your job correctly, and that is asking tons and tons of questions. Just ask a lot of questions. And when a seller hints that they have a lot of stuff to move out, you can start digging into that a little bit deeper. You know, you can say, well, what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, what kind of stuff are we talking about? Are you talking like, you know, a shed that's maybe full, or, you know, maybe is it just stuff that you've accumulated over the years? And if so, like, what are we talking? Are we talking, you know, a truckload, a couple truckloads? So you can kind of start to draw that out. And finally, the third clue that you might be dealing with a seller, and this may sound kind of stereotypical of me, or it may sound ignorant for that matter. But what I have found in my years of dealing with collectors is that a lot of them have cats for some strange reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's maybe they've accumulated so much stuff that they know that a dog can't get through there. I mean, maybe they just like cats. I honestly don't know, but all I'm trying to say is that when there is one of these situations, it always seems to me, more times than not, I'd probably say, 80% of the time that I've ever dealt with a situation like this, the seller has owned cats, and it's usually more than one. It's usually quite a few. I don't know what the correlation is. Like I said, I'm not a psychotherapist. I really don't have any clue why that is, but it just seems that it is. So that's really it. This is a short and sweet video. I'm actually kind of dealing with one of these situations right now, and that's what really prompted me to get out here and create this video. One thing that I do want to suggest to anyone that's watching this is, if you're dealing with somebody that's in this situation, this is not to be taken lightly. This is a pretty serious topic. I mean, we're talking, we've got, when you're dealing with a collector, you've got, potential health issues. You've got actual real physical injury that you can deal with. But most of this is really psychological, and it's something that if you've never dealt with, you're going to have to be really, really super empathetic. The thing that I recommend you do if you're in this situation is try and put yourself into their situation. Be empathetic, but move fast. You've got to move fast with these folks. So, it gives them it gives them a little less time to really have to think about things. And truth be told, if it's beyond your capabilities, if you're not equipped to deal with it, your best bet is to probably try and get them in touch with somebody that can actually help them. And I know a lot of us out there are out here to, we're out here to buy houses, and we're used to moving fast and boom, 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 getting things done. But this is a situation. It's just a little bit different. It's you're not dealing generally with what I would call a rational thinking person, and so you have to handle that situation differently. And if you're not equipped to do it, I would recommend 100% that you get out there, you reach out to somebody in the medical field that can actually come in and help you do this, or help you deal with this situation. And that your seller's going to appreciate that eventually. They may not in the beginning, but eventually they will appreciate that. And for me, the situation I'm dealing with, I honestly at this point yes, I want the property, I want the house, but just being able to help this person, being able to help this person get out of the property, and get her moved away from that whole environment, so that she doesn't have to really think about her problems. I think you got to understand that when you're dealing with somebody in this situation, their mind is always busy. It's always running. They have all of this stuff, and it's just always, to me, seems like just from watching this happen, it just seems like their minds are always busy. And what I was able to do was I was able to get somebody out of a property that was a collector, and hopefully kind of get their mind off of this big problem that they have. And that was my number one goal. And if it turns out that what I've done isn't actually helpful, I plan on reaching out to a medical professional and getting this person some help. So anyway, that's really all I'm going to say in this video about collectors. It's a very special situation, and I hope you take it seriously. And as it turns out, you can do some really good business when you're dealing with folks like this. So anyway, thank you very much. We will see you in the next one.